Hello, and welcome to Cryptid Creations. We're just three idiots who hang out and talk about dumb stuff together sometimes. But before we get into the show, we have a couple of words from our sponsor. Hey, have you guys ever heard about Anchor? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Mandatory call to action! Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. And welcome to the show. I'm William.
I'm Kayla, and we do not have a Megan.
She's dead.
She's not dead. There was just a scheduling issue. She will be back probably next week.
Or will she? But this week we're gonna be talking about ghost stories and things that have happened to us that are paranormal.
We know that this is different from our normal show. However, we just kind of figured, hey, we also usually have 3 people, so this is another way to spice that up.
And don't be getting all up in your arms about it. We're also doing a cursed boy.
We do still have a cryptid to create today.
The show will go on, but why don't you
Our
why don't you just take the lead?
our first topic of the day is actually going to be about ghosts that we've experienced. For those of you, if this is your first episode watching, or if we just haven't explicitly said it, William and I live together. We are engaged. We're in a relationship. I don't know. We've been going out for about 5 years now.
Sound more reluctant, please.
And we're both very cursed people. And we have both had our fair share of ghost stories and ghost experiences. I used to be a ghost hunter in high school. I used to go with a group.
I didn't know that was a class you could take.
It was not a class, it was an after-school activity, and our police officer for the school ran it, and he would get us into, locked buildings and stuff.
It would be cool if it was a class. You could have Zach Bagans show up.
I would not allow him. Not after what he did to the demon house. Which I wanna hold on, before I even get into the ghost story part of it, I have a bone to pick with Zach fucking Bagan, because I'm sorry. Okay, so the demon house, if you're not aware, there was a house in Gary, Indiana, which we're from Indiana, and we're from that area. We're not from Gary, but we're from, a town over. Well, not William, but me. And there was a house in Gary that was super haunted, and people were calling it to, the portal to hell, and people called it the demon house, right? Well, that's fine and dandy. We all thought it was a cool little thing that we had. Well, Zach Bagan decides to take his fat fucking head and go and buy the house, which would have been fine. He wanted to create his little movie, right? First off, the quality of the movie is fine. It's like every other Zach Bagan show. However, he never shows anything on camera aside from stuff that is just bad acting. And then at the end, he's like, the second I don't have my camera to this doorway, a shadow walked past it, and now I'm suddenly kind of a little bit blind, and I only need these cheap cheater glasses, but I'm blind. And then he's like, and now since none of you can fact check me, let me demolish the house. That's right. He got them to bulldoze the demon house. That no longer exists. People were pissed about it. And yeah, so I have bones to pick. Multiple bones to pick with Zach Bagan.
Also, I want to piggyback off of what you said, and also that is just every episode of his show.
Yeah.
Is bad acting, and then him being all like, "Oh my gosh, a shadow that was probably the camera guy. I can't believe we found evidence."
There is a shadowy figure following me everywhere I go. It is definitely not just my actual shadow.
My eyes hurt a little bit, and it's because of a ghost that I need corrective lenses.
It's not because I'm up at 3 a.m. shining a flashlight into a completely pitch black house.
Fucking fuck this guy. I could hunt ghosts better than him because I've seen them.
Same. We both have had quite a few haunting experiences. I would say we're actually pretty equal about haunting experiences. If anything, I might have a little bit of a one up on you just because I actually did ghost hunt, but you were possessed. So
I was possessed. And also, I feel like I've seen more. You've experienced more, but I've seen them more.
I feel like experience them
Very nice.
experiencing them. I'm sorry, my speech impediment is out to play today. I don't know why. Um,
Take your time.
no. And
Okay.
I've just had a lot of experiences. My family, we used to do like the tea leaves and the palm readings and all that stuff. And when I was in paranormal society, which is the ghost hunting club, I had what's called, God, what are they called? There's something rods like not dowsing
Dowsing
rods.
rods.
Yeah, but basically it's a little like bent stick, like it's at just a little bit more than a 90-degree angle, acute, and there's beads on it, and you hold them and it helps you find a water source, but it can also help you find energies. That's how it works to find a water source. So it's good for communicating with spirits. And that was my specialty. I'm very good at using them. I have very steady hands because I like to draw and knit and do all this stuff. So I've actually been able to have conversations with ghosts, which whether you believe in ghosts or not, I just feel like it's cool.
I feel like at this point, if you don't believe in ghosts, you just live a boring life.
If you don't believe in ghosts, it's because you're scared that they might actually exist and you just don't want to think about that thought.
Right.
Uh
Do you wanna take us out with the story?
Ooh, so many to choose from. Uh, I think one of my favorite stories is when I got scratched by a ghost.
Oh yeah.
I just to set the scene. So I'm not going to name a city, but live in Northwest Indiana. We live in the region, and my paranormal society that I was in, like I said, it was ran by a police officer. So we had a pretty good reputation, so we were able to get into a lot of places. One of them was in Lake County, Indiana, and I want to say it's Crown Point. It is an abandoned jail. It is the jail that John Dillinger was held in. And it was a story from it's the jail that they used for Public Enemy.
Yeah.
So the front of the building is a normal building all in itself. It's almost like a museum looking thing. And then you go through like a hallway that looks like you're walking into the pits of hell, and then you're just in a museum, or you're not in a museum, you're in a rundown jail. There's cobwebs everywhere, the lights don't work, and half the windows are broken. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
very cold in there, and I always somehow got stuck going in the winter, but it's fine. And, they give you, like, your little things. We have the, little God, I can't remember any of the equipment's name because I haven't done it in so long, but they gave us these little things, and it was to detect energy. You can detect if there's, like, loose wires with it. You can detect if there's or spirit, it's good for detecting energy. I think it's an EMF detector, electromagnetic field.
Is that the one with the radios?
Yes, we had a version of that, and then we had one that just, like, had a scale of 1 to 10 how high the energy is.
Oh, so it was like a Geiger counter where it was just kinda like a needle?
Yes, but, like, if you held it to a human, it won't set it off, but if you held it to a power box, it would. And the
Oh,
main
okay,
thing
okay.
and the jail is set up to where, like I said, there's not even lights, like, the light bulbs don't even work at this time, like, there is no power in the jail, so there's no reason that they should go off at all.
Yeah.
Like, even if I held it to my cell phone, it won't go off.
Okay.
So, as we're going in, we split up into our little groups because, we're like 16, 17. You had to be like a sophomore, I think, to get into the club. So I got my dowsing rods, I got my EMF, and I got a flashlight, and I went with my little group. And they're telling us stories about this, and we're in the main jail area. And they're like, hey, see this last cell at the very end that's very dark? Who wants to go in it by themselves? And I'm stupid, so I was like, "Me, me, me. I wanna be the white person that dies in a movie." I have blonde hair. It's like the beginning of every scary movie.
I'm a woman with blonde hair. This is my stereotype.
I'm a woman with blonde hair and big titties. It's my chance to die. So I went in. And they were like, "We'll leave you in there for, like, 5 minutes so you can do your little conversation." And I was like, "Lit." So I'm sitting on like a folding chair that they had brought in specifically, like, for us, so that way we weren't sitting on, like, tetanus, and,
Yeah.
I'm doing the dowsing rods, and I'm getting, like, pretty good answers, like, I'm like, "Hello," and you ask it yes or no questions, you're just like, "Oh, show me yes, show me no," and then, "Can you show me no?" Swung it to except for myself, like, I'm I don't mess with those rods. Like if I'm not gonna like fake an answer. If nothing's gonna talk, nothing's gonna talk. And I'm getting answers. I was like, "Is there someone in here with me?" A wide yes. The 5 minutes gets up, and I'm like, "Okay." And I'm telling the police officer, I'm like, "Hey, this is what I experienced." And they were like, "Oh, that's cool. Like we could hear you talking in there, but." So we're walking around the jail more. We're in our little
Yeah.
groups, and there was a couple experiences at this jail. Like we sat at the end of the hallway at one area, and they were like, "Okay, here's the thing. We're gonna turn off all our lights. There's a common thing here that if you look down the hallway where these like jail cell doors are just open, you'll see people like you'll see shadowy look out the worm at you." And we saw quite a few because we were just sat there for like a good 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We caught some like shadow people and some like orbs and stuff on photo because I went to that place like 3 times. This was okay. So the last time that I went is the time that I actually got scratched.
I didn't know that you went there several times. I was only aware of the first one that you told me.
Oh yeah, no, I went like 2 or 3 times
Okay.
because I went. They would go like once or twice a year, and I was needy. And and so this was the last time, not because I was scared, but because I was graduating.
Yeah.
We're in this like jail cell. It's like what used to be the common area. Like it's got a big picnic table like bolted to the floor and all sorts of stuff. And it's winter, so I have a Letterman's jacket on, I have a sweater on, and I have jeans on. And I have my little boots on because I was like, I'm not gonna wear sneakers in here. I'm gonna wear my boots. They're like a thicker bottom.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I feel something scratch my leg like really fucking hard. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And I asked the guy next to me, I was like, hey, by any chance, did you like touch me? Like it was like on my leg? And they're like, no, I didn't touch you. And I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. So I tell the police officer, and he's like, oh, that's also weird, but also kind of cool because like ghost scratch. And so I go to the bathroom on our way out, and I notice that it almost looks like something like did like a drag with like something serrated across my leg, almost like the way a dog scratch looks. So I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, that's weird. I'm gonna go tell the officer that." And so I tell him, and he's like, oh my god, there's an actual mark." And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Did you take a photo?" And I was like, "No, I didn't take a photo." He was like, "When you get home, will you take a photo?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I go home, and like I post it in like our little Facebook group, and he's like, "Oh my god, like that's an actual like that is a scratch." I was like, "I've never actually been, like, scratched by something, and it left a mark, like, ghost." So, I always joke that I got shanked in that prison
You got shanked by John Dillinger.
by John Dillinger or Danny Phantom.
I wh- one of those is a real person.
Yeah, Danny Phantom.
You are correct. And then should I tell the faceless boy one or
Ooh, I say tell the apartment one.
okay. So it was about last year-ish. I had just come home from work and no one was home. And I was thinking like, okay, that's cool. Sick. So I drop all my shit, I pet the cat, and I hop in the shower as one does.
I'd like to also say we live in a different place now. I wasn't living with him at this point. He had 2 roommates who had a cat. This
Yeah.
was an apartment. We now live in a house together.
Yeah. So I pet the cat and then I hop in the shower, as one does when you get off work and you're dirty. And I'm not in there maybe 5 minutes. And I just hear the loudest fucking bang. Like someone was trying to kick down the door loud. And I knew it was like too loud to be the pipes. So I was like, someone just broke in. And me being the fucking genius I am, going full Nordic mode, I was like, if I'm going down, I'm gonna go down confusing the shit out of this guy. So I get out of the shower and I rip open the door. No one's there. I even heard like jiggling on the doorknob before I even opened it, and no one was there. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? So I check all the windows, I check all the doors. The cat is still asleep. All of the windows are fine, and all the doors are locked. And I'm like, hey, fuck that. And then later that night, Kayla comes over and we're just chilling in my room. And just out of into the hallway, we hear the cat like meowing and hissing at our roommate's door.
Home at this point either, so it's just us, and their door is like their door was open at that point, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was open.
Yeah, but they weren't home yet.
Yeah.
but their door was open and the cat's just like in the hallway, just fucking hissing its brains out and just growling defensively, if that makes sense.
Our doors were at a weird, like, 90-degree angle, so if you walked out of our bedroom door, and looked immediately left, you'd be looking into their doorway,
Yeah, you could see like directly into their room.
but not from inside of our room. So for our instance, we just saw the cat hissing in the direction of the door, but we couldn't see the door at this point, so we don't know what they were looking at.
Yeah, so like Kayla and I finally like actually register what's happening, and we're like, "Oh, baby, no, like it's okay. No one's in there." And like just as I say that, something falls over in their room, and the cat just fucking zooms away. And then was it the same night or was it a different day?
It was the same night, but it has happened multiple times.
Right. So like
This was I think this was the first night that we saw it, and then
yeah,
the rest you would see it, like, out of the corner of your eye or you'd catch a glimpse of it.
right. So like we're just out in the living room at some point. I think we had gone to the kitchen because it's connected to the living room.
I think I was baking something for work in the kitchen, and so we were sitting on the couch in the living room watching TV.
Yeah. And then just out of the corner of our eyes, because of the way the living room was set up, if you're sitting on the couch and you look immediately to your left, you can see all the way down the hallway and into their room.
Their room was, like, the very end of the hallway. It's the door, and that's their room, and they had their door open, and so we're facing the TV, and to the left is that hallway, and we kinda saw it out of the corner of our eye, and we both looked,
And it was just like the silhouette of a dude, just like a shadow of someone that wasn't there, if that makes sense.
and they were like the light that was in the hallway was enough for us to tell that it wasn't just a trick of the light, like, it was a full figured shadow in the hallway, and it was darker than the room, but it was like it picked up on, like, the light outside,
Yeah. And then it like walks to the left a little bit, which is where their hallway is. Or not the hall, their
their closet.
where their closet is.
It
Yeah.
was its left, but our right, or if we're looking at it to the right, it moved to, like, the right, but it was too if it was facing us, it moved left.
Yeah. And I don't remember what I did next. Did I like run to their room and shut the door?
You looked at me and you went, "Please tell me you saw that too," and I froze and I was like, "Yeah," and you ran and you shut that door.
Yeah, because like I didn't want to fucking see that shit again.
And then we had little experiences where we'd keep seeing a shadow out of the corner of our eye too.
Yeah. And then we even called our roommates even like a few months later and we were like, "Hey, did you see something? Or like did you experience anything weird?" And they were like, "Yeah, sometimes when you weren't home, we'd hear people like arguing in your room."
I actually so he lived with another couple, and keep in mind, I didn't live at that apartment, I would just visit a lot. I wasn't ready to fully move out of my parents' house. So, when we were moving out of the apartment, I met up with the girl for coffee because there had been some misunderstandings and, like, some weird stuff had happened, and so we were like, "You know what? Let's sit down and talk." And like, we had our conversation, and I was like, "Hey, out of curiosity, did you guys get the sense that the apartment was, like, haunted?" And she was like, "Oh my god, you yes, like, I was just talking to her boyfriend, about that," and she was like, "We were standing in the kitchen one night, and the back wall of the kitchen is, like, the wall that leads into William's closet and then into his room." And he was like, "We were standing in the kitchen and we heard from, like, down the hallway, we thought it was either your room or ours, but it made more sense for your room. We heard talking, like, 2 people talking." And she was like, we thought you" we were like, "Oh my god, are they here?" And we just didn't know, like, she was like, "I" so they go and they open our door and they look, or William's door, and they look, and no one's in there. They check their room, no one's in there, and so they're like, "Okay, that's weird." And we had actually had a similar experience where we would hear people talking in their room when they weren't home.
But like I would usually brush it off as like, "Oh, so and so's home." I don't want to say their name. Uh,
Yeah, or like, "Oh, the TV was left on," or, you brush it off, but once you find out, like, no, it wasn't just us experiencing it, it was, like, terrifying to find out, like,
yeah. And then I've had a little spectral friend for apparently my entire life. But when I was a little kid, I used to live in like this trailer, and I have a pretty big family. I'm the youngest of five, so one day I see a kid outside. So naturally, me being young, I was like, oh, one of my siblings brought a friend over, and they looked about my age, which was about like 5 or 6. And I'm like, oh, a friend. So I run outside, and this kid just bolts, and I'm thinking like, oh, he's gonna like he wants to play tag or something. So I chase him. He rounds the corner of the house and disappears. And like I get to the corner, and I'm thinking I'm gonna like see him turn around the second corner because that's how like house length works.
Where else would he go?
Right. And he's just not there. So I'm like, damn, he's fast. So I keep chasing him. So I do a few laps around the house, and it finally registers, oh, he's gone. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I go inside and I go to my room because I was like, whatever, fuck it. I'm just gonna like take a nap or whatever. And just as I get in my bed, I see him again, and he runs past my window. And the thing I noticed about him this time is he had no features. He was completely featureless and completely naked, which is something for some reason I didn't register the first time.
You just saw a featureless and naked boy run past your window, and you're like, "Yes, a tag friend."
Well, I didn't see like I only saw his head, if that makes sense, the first time.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the like,
You're like, "Oh shit, Caillou."
yeah, but he had no face. And that was the other thing. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then a few weeks pass, and one of my shirts goes missing. And I was a young little church boy, so it was like a white and red striped polo. And it was my favorite shirt. I loved wearing it to church, and it was gone. One Sunday, we had woken up and we were all getting ready to go to church and stuff. I still can't find it. And I'm all like, where the fuck is it? Because that's what 5-year-olds say.
You're like, "Where's my church drip?"
Where's my church drip? I can't get all the honeys if I'm not stunting on them.
I'm only gonna get 1 communion cracker if I don't show up in that shirt. I need at least 2.
If I don't look fly as hell, I'm only gonna get one cracker.
They will not let me take a sip of the wine.
It was grape juice at the time.
Exactly.
They might have had wine for the adults, but who knows? But I'm looking for the shirt, and I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking, and I see the kid again. Still faceless. No character development there, but he's wearing my shirt. Naturally, being young, I was like, that motherfucker stole my shirt. So I run outside and I try to chase him again. And he's gone again. And then fast forward to what, last year?
Yeah, we went to a festival. I've already said from like Northwest Indiana. There's a festival and there's a lot of like fairs and festivals in the summer in that area, one of them being Rock and Rails. And it's basically like a fair like that the town has and it's their main like street, like they take up half of it and it's just a bunch of booths and vendors and like cool stuff, you know? Like it and then they have a band stage set up at the very end and people play music and it's cool.
Yeah.
And that's where we were.
Oh, I thought you were going to continue telling the story, but I'll pick it up from here.
Sorry.
But we're at this festival, and Kayla and I passed by like a palm reader, and we just passed by him, and we're like, maybe we should do it. Maybe we shouldn't.
I had been joking for like 3 weeks just because of the whole apartment situation that we were like, "Oh, ha ha ha. Wouldn't that be so funny if we went and saw like a palm reader or like a fortune teller or something and see if like, if anything
Yeah,
followed us?" Like we were just kind of joking about it. And so when we passed by, we kind of looked at the booth and like two of them were busy. And then out of like next to the booth, kind of like behind it, this blonde lady walks up to and she goes, "Hey, are you 2, like, looking for a fortune teller?" We're like, "Yeah." And so she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do you guys one at a time just so that way I don't, like, mix up the signal I get from both of you." But first she, like, sat us down together so we could, like, pay her and whatnot,
sign a verbal contract.
basically. And so we sat down next to this little restaurant, and there's, like, tables out there. And so she sits us down, like, out of the street's view, but, like, on a table. And she looks at the 2 of us after we pay her and she goes, "Did you guys have a miscarriage, by the way?" Which is a very bold question to start out with. Like, she asked us our names and then straight into, "Did you have a miscarriage?" Um,
Yeah, like right out of the gate. That's like,
she's like, "Hi, what's your name?" And we're like, "Oh, Kayla William." And they're like, "Oh," she was like, "Did you guys have a miscarriage?" Um,
And
Which
like in the back of my mind, I'm like, you're the palm reader. You should know.
and at this point, we're both 20. We're both 22 now. We hadn't turned we were almost 21, but we were, and so I was like, "No," like, we weren't even engaged. We engaged? No, we
No.
weren't. We were not engaged at that point. We were a few months away from being engaged.
Yeah, I was about to say not until the up and coming November.
Yeah. And so we were like, "No," like, and I had a moment of brief doubt. I was like, "Wait, did I?" Because I don't know, I've never had one, so I was like, "Maybe I did. Maybe." But like, I then later looked up to, like, what they even feel like because I got, like, nervous about this, and I would have known. So, no, I have not had one. So, I was like, "Well, no, no, we didn't," and she was like, "Oh, that's weird," and she was like, "The reason I walked up to you guys when you were looking is because there's a spirit, like, it's a little boy, and it's attached to you guys."
But and then she was like, it's not like harmful. It's he's happy.
Usually we're very, 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 very skeptical about, like, fortune tellers and palm readers and stuff like that. Like I said, I come from family who does that, so I know that there are some real ones out there, but you have to be skeptical.
Yeah.
And
I like even now I'm still a little bit skeptical, but like I went in thinking wholeheartedly this is bullshit.
yeah, we both went in the mindset that she's not gonna know shit about us. And I would have easily brushed that off like, "Oh, she's just trying to get a scare factor out of us." But then she separates us, and she does me first and then him, and she starts calling out shit that we gave her no information about ourselves aside from our names. And she was like, "You're the youngest, aren't you?" She's like, "There's 2 of you to me because I have an older sister." And I was like, "Yeah." And she starts, like, talking about stuff that had happened, and she was like, "Your family's been through a lot of hardship. Both of your parents just got injured." And that was true. My Both of my parents had just had surgery, like, that summer. They had both been injured. She goes, "You lost a pet recently." And she was like, I'm getting the names, the initials BJS, and my dog's name was Buddy, but we always called him Boudreaux Joseph. Boudreaux Joseph, and then my last name starts with an S. So his initials were BJS. And I was kind of looking at her. She goes, "It's a black dog." Buddy was a black dog. He was 14. He had just passed away that summer. Actually, while my dad was in the hospital from his surgery because he got injured at work. And so I was like, "There is no way she knew that." I like, "What?" And she's like, "Don't worry, he loves you. He's
Oh.
still watching over you sometimes." And so I'm like, "Damn, now I'm crying in the club because like, I hadn't stopped crying about the fact that I still haven't stopped crying about the fact that that dog died. I love that dog." She's just like that's just an example, though. She's, like, telling us stuff me about stuff in my life that, like, I gave her no information, none. Like, I was so careful, I didn't give her shit. If she said something and it was true, I would, like, kind of confirm it, but I wasn't, like just enough. Like, she was like, "You're the youngest of 2 daughters." And I was like, "Well, you're right. There's not much information other than that you can get from me confirming that."
Yeah.
And she was doing stuff like that, and she basically tells me my life story, and she's like she gives me advice and all this stuff, and then she's like, "Okay, William's turn."
I sit down and she's all like immediately she's all like, so you're a man of faith. You grew up in the church, and I'm like, okay, that's a 50-50 shot, right? Like just with people, you know? Hello?
Yeah, I said yes.
Oh.
My mic probably didn't pick up.
But it's like a 50-50 shot. So I was all like, okay, that's probably easy to guess. And she goes, but it must be hard being the youngest of five. And right away, I'm like, oh, okay.
And I didn't tell her anything about William. Like, I was tight-lipped. I basically said, "Yeah, we've been dating," and that's it.
Yeah. And she goes on and she's all like, you seem a little bit tense, and it might be because of the roommate troubles you're having. And at the time, I had a few fights with my then roommates. And she continues, and she's all like, "It also must be hard being this far away from home." I didn't tell her that I was from a different state because I came up to Indiana from South Carolina
And he had come up that year, and I didn't mention anything to her.
at all. And she was like, "It must be hard being this far away from your family, especially with your parents' is like uh rocky marriage." And at the time, they were not in the best
Trouble.
place. Yeah. And she just goes on and she's just like nailing these things. And I'm like, this is fucking crazy. But moral of the story is I guess palm readers sometimes aren't always bullshit.
Yeah, so, like, we take into account the little boy thing a lot more now.
Yeah.
just because she got literally everything else right. I don't feel like she would have just thrown it in for no reason. Oh my god. My best friend, her name starts with an A, and I don't know if she wants me to say her name in this podcast, so I'm not going to, but she she drinks. Not horribly. She just, she'll have like a drink. She'll have like a beer, you know? And that night, I guess she was God, it was a Saturday, so I think she was actually out at a party drinking. And she looks me in the eye and she goes, "Your best friend, her name starts with an A." And I was like, "Oh." And she was like, "Tell her to stop drinking." And so I texted my friend as soon as like I left that lady and William was talking to her. I was like, "Hey, yo, I just want to let you know, a fortune teller just told me to tell you this." And she goes, "Damn, I was literally in the middle of taking a shot when you messaged me this." And then, funny enough about that friend, she ran into the same fortune teller, we're pretty sure, at a bar recently because she was like, "Yeah," and she described the lady to me, and she was like, she called out stuff that I had no way, she had no way of knowing. I was like, "Oh my god, describe her to me." It was the same lady. She described the exact same lady.
Huh. I actually didn't know that. Also,
Yeah,
real shit. It might be just because we're talking about spooky shit, but something just like fell behind me.
it's probably Catspur.
Fucking bastard. That's for another episode.
Our our current house has a ghost cat.
That's all. That's all we're gonna say for now.
It's a very sweet ghost, I will say that.
It is. But there was one thing though where at the very end she was like out of nowhere she's like you should get into stocks and I was like okay there's the bullshit. But you wanna transition a little bit to our boy,
Our boy, are we doing the boy that I'm looking at? The
the
boy boy?
boy, the boy holding a boy.
He looks God. This looks like if you walked into, like, and this is gonna be such an obscure, like, reference, BronyCon. I've never been to BronyCon, but I went to enough anime conventions to know what those people from the fandom look like. Like, every fandom has a type.
I have a follow up question. Do you mean the man in the hat or the the one with only eyes?
I am going to get to that. The man in the hat looks like someone you would see walking around BronyCon and being like, "I am a magician from this world of My Little Pony," or something. I would see them around anime conventions, so I know they exist. But he looks like he's his own OC from, like, what's it called? Equ
Fandom.
no, Equestria Girls? Is that the one where they're humans? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Ask my friend Josh. He was a brony.
I only know what I know about bronies because of my best friend, because she babysits and she has a lot of little nieces and nephews. So, when they're over, she would turn it on, and so, like, I would watch a couple episodes. I don't 100% know what happens in the show, but I know just, like, the basis of it, and then from anime conventions, I've seen a lot of people, like, costumes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh, but this looks like what I would expect if I walked into the back room of a brony convention, into, like, one of the weird, like, BDSM 18 plus, con rooms for, like, the special events that they'd hold.
So are you saying that this is taking place there?
Yes, it looks like the back rooms of a brony convention.
He's kind of like holding him up, like this is my son.
Hmm.
He looks, despite having no features except for eyes, he looks proud.
He looks like the baby from, I wanna say it's the first episode, Thomas Thomas,
Oh, is this his first evolution?
the Widow's Peak. No, this is Thomas Thomas's father.
What's his father's name?
Hmm. Frank.
Frank and Thomas Thomas?
Yeah. What is this boy's name? The jacket guy.
Well, you said he was a part of the brony culture, so let's just name him his OC's name. What would his OC's name be?
I don't know enough about bronies to give you, like, an OC name for them. If it was Homestuck, I would have some, like, reference, but not for bronies.
He looks like he would also have a strong interest in that.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say this is Frank, and Rope Bunny.
Rope bunny?
Yeah, I think that's what, like, the kink community calls, like, rope play, like, if you're into it and, like being tied up.
Yeah.
This is Frank, and Rope Buddy.
I don't think I'm gonna name the episode Frank. I think I'm just gonna title it Frank times two.
Frank Squared and Rope Bunny. God, I like that his hat is staying on, and I can't tell if he's wearing sunglasses or like the like visors or if he's got something over his eyes.
I thought it was glasses.
I do too, because I don't see them just like taking two separate pieces of fabric. Like I feel like you would just throw a pillowcase over his head at that point.
Yeah, I think they're just glasses. And of course, the hat stays on because this man is so greasy, the hat's never coming off.
Little baby man's. He's a big boy. I don't know. He's so comforting.
Sorry. Little baby man.
I don't know. There's something very comforting about him.
There's something very comforting about him, but also like intensely ominous.
I think this is Thomas's parents.
Parents
Parents. Frank Frank Square definitely gave birth to Thomas.
himself. Did we have a Carl
Yes.
Weezer situation?
Yeah, he was ass pregnant.
He was okay. He was mpreg.
Yeah.
I, I I'm more interested in the backstory of this
It's their honeymoon.
creature.
It's their honeymoon.
Like, so does he steal his spouses?
No. Here's the thing. Okay. So they met on DeviantArt in 2011.
Oddly
Um
specific. I'm down.
it was an oddly specific time. They met on an NSFW group of some sort. They then took the time travel to the first BronyCon ever for their first honeymoon, so that way they could engage in rope play in the back rooms. During this time, Frank Squared got Mpreg with Thomas, so they time traveled once more to the past to give birth to Thomas just in time for him to be able to die in whatever 18 whatever where he's buried in a cemetery.
Where he died as a very young old boy man,
Yes.
which I still maintain that.
Waited till they time traveled once again to his funeral so that way they could steal the soul and put it into a baby doll which now haunts the earth.
The king for humans to eat and butts to touch.
And now they just time travel to different points where they think they could get away with rope play.
With rope play. So
Yeah.
are you now also suggesting that there is a point in the future
This is a
where
kink thing.
it's okay to do this in public?
Um, I mean, it's
Uh,
not illegal.
Well, I
Like now,
mean,
I could walk you around the street tied up like this, and the police can't stop me if you're fully clothed.
okay, I was about to say, like, are they fucking in public or
No, this is more of a humiliation rope play thing.
okay? But I feel like there's a dark side to Frank Squared. Like, if you pissed him off enough, his face would crack in half and a bunch of spiders would come out.
He looks like if you make him mad, he starts sweating the sauce from a can of ravioli.
So it's just red.
Yeah. But it 100% smells like that meat sauce.
It smells like the meat sauce, but it also doubles as a scare tactic because it does look like blood.
And then he licks you. Like from underneath the mask, a tongue will slide out.
I don't think this is a mask. It would be scarier if it was just this. I don't believe this is a mask. Like, what if a tongue just came like slithering out the ear instead?
No, I'm saying like from what it looks like a mask, like from that area where white meets black.
Oh yeah.
That's where the tongue comes out of, and they lick you.
Okay, now I'm on board. And then like under the mask, it's literally just a featureless head, like that boy. So it's
Under
like
the
where did the tongue come from?
Yeah,
Is it the mask's tongue or the head's tongue?
yeah.
He's definitely hiding at least two arms.
Oh, definitely. He looks like he has supersonic hearing.
Oh yeah, he can hear someone getting ass pregnant from a mile away.
That's why he's so surprised you managed to sneak into the room.
Yeah, is that what his like death staring the camera
Yeah. I'd like to think also when he gets angry, he has like a expo marker in his pocket and he draws on angry eyebrows.
and a frown?
Yeah. He'll draw on faces.
I also would like to think that when he gets mad, like people encroaching on his territory, he just starts vibrating violently.
Definitely a vibrating man.
He's a vibrator. He's at least 400 years old
At least.
because like
He's timeless.
he's timeless, especially with like time travel thing. He could technically be like trillions of years old.
He used to be friends with Edward Cullen.
So now I'm I think I hate that because now that means this man exists in the same universe as a person named Renesmee.
Okay, so Twilight takes place in Seattle, just like iCarly does, around the same time period. So if we go off of that, and we're assuming that Twilight actually happened in the iCarly universe, then it would also have happened in Victorious, and a couple other shows, meaning this baby is alive for iCarly.
That also in turn makes Thomas Thomas in the iCarly universe
Yes, and the Twilight universe.
and the Twilight universe. I was about to say Thomas Thomas wasn't alive for I guess all of those, but I forgot about the Twilight part. Those, if you go chronologically, those motherfuckers have been around for a long time.
He looks like Renesmee.
He's no. I'm
That's the
vetoing
Twilight
that.
baby.
Vetoing that he is not Renesmee.
He based his face off the Twilight baby.
I will accept that because that baby is by itself its own cryptid.
What does he sound like?
I okay, this is going to be the first time I'm suggesting this and maybe the only time. I'm going to posit he does not speak. He just projects emotions into your brain of what he's
Mhm.
feeling.
Hmm. I'd like to deposit that he speaks, but only through his eyes.
So, do
Like
the eyes
they open and close like a mouth, so you hear double.
I hate that. I hate it. So, does his boyfriend husband guy dude, does he actually love him?
Well, 100%. That is a
Because
very loving and caring relationship right there.
he's a very caring boy.
He loves his husband.
He loves Frank squared. Do you think he ever misses Thomas Thomas?
They understand that Thomas Thomas has better things to do in this world, and he has a bigger purpose. And they're supportive.
So, aside from BDSM play through time, is there anything else they do through time?
Frank Squared likes to go into Toys R Us's and sit in the stuffed animal piles before they close down and just scare children.
I hate the visual of that, but that is 100% something that I could see actually happening.
Yeah. They also really like just walking around Target.
Yeah, they look like Target wanderers. He also kind of looks like the baby from Toy Story 1, the one with
Mhm.
the spider legs.
They only eat at Golden Corrals.
Yeah, Golden Corrals is its own cursed location.
They refuse to use plates. They only use their hands.
Their food shows up and they're like, dump that shit on the table.
No, that's why they go to Golden Corral. They like use the little tongs to be polite, but then they just place it in their hands,
Oh, so they just like live with burnt ass hands
which is somehow more disrespectful.
to Golden Corral or just their own bodies?
Everything.
All right.
They don't believe in napkins, so they just wipe it on the person closest to them.
Which is usually Frank Squared's ass.
No, a separate person, a third person.
Oh, just a random person?
Yeah.
I can get behind this.
They just walk up to you, rub their hands on you, and leave.
I would get so pissed off if that happened to me. Just like,
But you're not gonna say anything. Look how terrifying they look.
I will say something. It is the Corona times. If you walk up to me and wipe your fucking dirty ass, grubby ass, sticky, gross hands on me, I'm going to punch you out.
Okay, but imagine you say like, "Hey, excuse me," and Frank Squared walks up to you and in a very deep but whispered voice with both of his eyes, so you hear double, he says, "Deal with it."
I think I would still uppercut him like I was playing motherfucking goddamn Mortal Kombat.
I think you would have shat your pants at that point.
I would have shit my pants and also would have thrown the pants at them.
He would have liked it. Free pants for his loved husband.
Well, I hope he's not taller than me.
He is 8 feet tall.
Then these pants will not fit.
8 Oh, Frank Squared is 8 feet tall or 4 feet tall. He likes to stretch his legs. The husband, on the other hand, is about 5'10".
Ah, damn. So I guess the pants would fit.
Yes.
Fuck. So at which points does he elongate? Is it like a depends on the day thing, how he's
Like if you would
feeling?
have said something to him when he walked up to you, his legs he would have gotten in front of you, his legs would elongate, he would bend over and then say deal with it.
I think I would probably just like sweep the leg. I'd take him out.
They're very sturdy.
Are they made of brick?
He's got, like, the worst cankles you could imagine.
Oh, he's built like a brick shit house, but only at the
Like,
cankles.
his thigh to ankle ratio is the same. It is just a cylinder.
Thigh to cankle?
Yes.
Oh no. So otherwise, they just walk around in public like this. Nobody questions the fact that this man speaks out of both of his eyes.
It's like, Suicide Squad where he's like, "She was his queen, and she was crazier than him, and God help anybody who ever disrespects his queen."
Oh my fucking god. I can't believe we've referenced this goddamn movie in this fucking show.
But Rope Bunny is the queen.
Rope Bunny. Can we give him a real name
No,
as well? Just Rope Bunny.
just Rope Bunny. That's all he'll go by.
What about RB? Just the letters R and B.
Um, his name is Arbeyes Meyats, spelled Arby's Meats.
Okay.
That is
So
what is on his driver's license. It's Arby's Meats, but he pronounces it RBS Meyats.
so we got Frank Squared and Arby's Meats.
RBS Meyats, aka Rope Bunny.
I hate everything about it. Is that all we have for these two boys?
Oh, I sure hope so.
What does that mean? Were you excited to not talk about them anymore?
No, I don't know. There's something that just feels so private and tender about this moment. I don't want to take from it.
The picture of them?
Yeah, they look so happy.
Moving on.
I wish I had that kind of love.
Moving on.
If you hate me, you could say it.
Moving on.
Are you gonna do the last subject then? Damn.
I was hoping you were gonna segue. You're supposed to help me with these things.
I've started all three of these.
It's how you transition a show. It's yes and you say no but.
Anyways, all right. So the third
Oh, I
topic
got
of
it.
no,
I
no,
got it.
no, 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 Miss Thing, I got it. So the third subject of our show today.
Hold on. Miss Thang. What?
I couldn't think of an insult.
Anyway.
Okay. Our third topic was since we did the scary stories at the beginning and then we made a cryptid, we decided we would tell you scary stories from the internet, specifically Reddit, because we're obviously Reddit people.
Of course we are.
Would you like to go first, my dear child?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, and bitch.
Yes. And this one is submitted on r/ghost stories by user Irina Ear, and it goes, so this happened when I was about 14 years old. My house has no record of being haunted and never was, but I'm sure that in the first years after we moved there, when I was about 9 years old, there was a harmless spirit that lingered around at the time. I was in our second bathroom washing my hands, and after I finished and wiped them with a cloth, I looked in the mirror, as one does, and I had no expression on my face. I was just looking at myself, but my reflection kind of tilted its head to the right and gave me a big smile while looking directly into my eyes. I am completely sure I did not smile or tilt my head when I saw that.
Well, that sounds like a tender moment.
It's a tender moment.
Very tender moment between you and your reflection.
You're a little reflective boy.
I never liked mirrors. One, because I'm ugly, and two, because I don't like the idea that if I turn my back to a mirror, I don't know that my reflection also turned its back.
Yeah, I also hate that. Do you also like look in the mirror long enough for your like to your face to look fucked?
Yeah, and then you're just like, who is that?
Yeah. And it continues. My expression must have changed to pure horror, but the face in the mirror did not. As I ran out of the bathroom, I noticed that my reflection just kind of stayed there. It didn't run away along with me. This never happened before or after, but it still has me thinking about why this happened and how is it possible. Thank you for reading. That was submitted by user Irina Ear.
I would shit myself and I would smash that mirror.
I was about to say that's the fucking ghost's house now.
Yeah. I have a story by user Fabian MTY or underscore MTY. It's called They Didn't Pray for Him at 12.
Oh,
And this is once again on Reddit under r/ghost stories. It's it's typed as an experience too. So it's supposed to be a true story. This happened at my parents' house. This was one of the multiple experiences I had while living in that house. When I was 13 years old, my oldest sister had her best friend over since they were going to study for a final exam. My parents were out for a wedding and were staying the night, and my brother was staying over at a friend's house. My sister and her friend were upstairs with the door closed, so I stayed downstairs watching TV. After a couple of hours, I heard the doorbell. I looked through the window and I saw a really good friend of my sister's named Chris. He knows my family well. He's very calm, honest, and caring person. I hung out with him for a bit, and after a while, he went to the washroom that's in the middle of the kitchen. We were in the lower part of the house where the kitchen is. When he went in, my sisters told us to hide from him. We turned off the downstairs lights and hid there. We could only see the light by the washroom, the only place with a light at that moment. When he comes out of the washroom, he immediately looks upstairs as if he had seen something. He suddenly goes up and we got confused, so we followed him upstairs. When he sees me, he freaks out and says he had seen me go upstairs when he got out of the washroom. I told him that wasn't possible as I was downstairs, but he got really nervous and insisted he saw someone taller walk upstairs towards the last room, my sister's room. He got scared and just stormed out, so we thought he was messing with us.
he's a
So
little
we didn't,
bitch.
right? There's a home intruder. I'm just gonna leave.
How you gonna get an attitude with a fucking home invader?
So we didn't think much of it. Later that night, we went to bed and forgot all about it. But it was a bit after 12 a.m. when I start hearing screams. I got so scared thinking that maybe someone was robbing the house and my sister had seen them. I didn't even have a bat or something, but I ran towards my sister's room. When I get there, I see the one screaming was my sister's friend. She was crying a lot and touching her neck. She
I'm
started
actually gonna
saying that my
quickly
brother
interrupt Kayla
had come
here.
into the
We
room and
had a
started
few
choking
technical
her.
difficulties
And I
making
was
this
confused, so I
episode,
called my brother.
and
I called his
a
friend's
chunk of
house
this
because at
story
the
got
time,
cut
cell
out.
phones weren't
So
not
if
as
you want
common.
to read it for
My brother
yourself,
said
I'll be
he hadn't
posting
been
the
to the
links
house at
to these
all,
stories in the
and that
description.
also,
When I
he
get
would never
there, I
do
see the
something
one
like that.
screaming
He
was my
kept on
sister's
saying that
friend.
sick.
She's
Why would I
crying a
do
lot
that?
and touching her neck.
I
She
told my
started saying
sister
that
and
my
her
older
friend
brother
that I
came in the
doubted
room
it,
and
that it
started
was my
choking her.
brother,
And I was so confused, so
that
I
my
called my
brother was the one who
brother.
did it. And
I
she kept
called his
insisting
friend's
that she
house
saw a taller
technically,
guy
because at that
who
time
started
cell phones
choking
weren't
her and
common.
saying random things
My
to
brother
her.
said that
I
he
asked her
hadn't
what he
been
was
to the
saying.
house at all and that he would never do something like that. He kept on saying, "That's sick. Why would I do that?" So I told my sister and her friend that I doubted it was my brother who did it, and she kept just insisting that she saw a taller guy who started choking her and saying random things at her. I asked her what he was saying, and she said that he kept on yelling, "Why didn't you pray at 12?" And then suddenly they both just stopped talking and stared at each other. I was so confused, so I asked them what was happening, and my sister tells me that earlier that day, they had been playing with a Ouija board. Turns out they had been talking to a guy who said he had died in a car accident the year before. The guy gave him his name and phone number and asked him to call and tell the person on the phone that he was okay. They called and the person who picked up the phone got really upset. Turns out it was the guy's mother, and she thought they were just playing a prank on her about her son's death. Later in that session, though, he asked them to pray for him at 12 a.m. so he could be at peace, and they didn't. Ever since my parents got the house, weird things have happened. However, after this incident, things got way worse. And that's the end of that story.
How the fuck are they gonna stop it on a cliffhanger?
Honestly, I don't know where else you wanted them to go with that story. That they like boxed a ghost.
Yeah.
Alrighty, do you have another story?
Yes, I do. This one is posted by user Love Imperfectly on r/paranormal. I've been sitting on this for a bit for a few reasons. It's really long. I wanted to be able to gather other facts to support my story. And quite frankly, I don't want to type it up while in my house. Fair enough. I didn't vet this, so I don't know where it's going. As you can tell with the stories on my page, I've been engulfed in the gray of this world since I was a child. Until recently, I've never met someone who is as sensitive as me. It was enlightening and equally terrifying. So here's my story. I've been renting my house from a family member for a few years now. Since day one, I knew it was haunted. I could feel the energy change the moment I stepped inside. but I could also tell it wasn't necessarily negative. I'm not a stranger to the paranormal. So when little things would happen like items moving slash going missing, inaudible conversations in other rooms, or even my dog looking at an empty corner or the wall, I wouldn't usually react. I even nicknamed the ghost Bernadette and would jokingly ask her slash it to stop. However, within the last 6 months, the activity has intensified. I've had individuals in my house who are complete skeptics, but they've witnessed glasses thrown across the room and shatter everywhere. Pictures falling from the wall, something slash someone walking down the empty hallway and hearing it, and hearing people talking that weren't there. I even had to have my brother check that my gas alarm was still active because of the random areas in the house smelling like rotten eggs. It is possible they just had a gas leak.
Possible that they were just farting.
Someone in there was fucking ripping ass. Halloween night, I had a very small get together, 6 people, appropriate for socially distancing.
You don't know that this happened during the quarantine.
It was 14 days ago,
They said they've been sitting on this story for a while.
but it was posted 14 days ago, so it's entirely possible it did. One of my guests brought her wife, who I had only met one other time. While my friends were playing games and passing out candy, my friend's wife, we'll call her Emily, pulled me to the side, seemingly upset, and stated she needed to discuss something with me. She asked if I knew about Mary. I'm running through names in my head that my coworker had mentioned, and I've never heard of a Mary. I obviously tell her no, and she proceeds to tell me a very detailed story about my house. She explained that I had 3 spirits in my house: a spirit named Mary, a spirit named Franklin, and that I had a spirit who was always with me named Gary, she thinks. That's a bold claim for something that you think is happening.
Wait, does she think it's always with her, or does she think that its name is Gary? Is that what she's not sure?
Yeah, I think she thinks its name is Gary.
Oh my god.
Why not think of a better name? Anyway, she stated Mary had died in the house a long time ago. Franklin died on the land before Mary from a plowing accident and was still in his death state. She also confirmed my suspicions of extra activity. A few nights prior, in the middle of the night, I was in bed and jumped up from my sleep from a huge bang against my bedroom wall and a picture falling onto the end of the bed. Obviously, I was startled and especially spooked when I could see the indentation in my wall from what appeared to be something that had hit it. I jokingly said, "Not cool, Bernadette," and went back to sleep.
I
That's a
mean,
mood, though.
why is that
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Emily knew about this. She knew he hit my wall. She said it was Franklin's way of trying to get my attention, that things are thrown in the house or fall off the wall. That's Franklin. Apparently, he's angry because I don't react. Oh, shit.
Oh my god, why is that every ghost at you?
Honestly, in my mind at this moment, I'm thinking, who the hell is this woman? I don't know her, and I haven't told anything to her wife about my creepy house. And then in asterisks, it says, I'm open with my experiences on here, but I'm very hush hush in person because of others' reactions. And then it continues. So I ask, how do you know about this stuff? And her response, still, as I'm typing this, chills me to my bones. And she says, because he's standing right behind you. First reaction is to look behind me, nothing. Second reaction is to ask why I can't see him. He doesn't want me to. Third reaction is, why does he want to scare me? He wants attention. Since that night, the activity in my previously mildly creepy house has been off the charts. It's been off the chain. I don't get spooked easy. I have seen things that you see on horror movies, but my house is scary. The energy has shifted. I feel like I'm constantly on fight or flight mode as I'm typing this at work. Sorry, that's not what that says. I'm typing this at work because I feel like someone is constantly looking over my shoulder. I don't want whatever or whoever it is to read this. I sound crazy. I feel like this was written by a woman for sure.
Sounds like a woman.
They probably specified it. I already forgot.
Same.
It's just my dog and me in this house. And even he's been acting differently. I've caught him multiple times sitting in the hall looking at nothing, whimpering, and then he runs under the bed. I literally have to drag him out. When I'm changing clothes or taking a shower, I feel uncomfortable because I feel like someone's watching me. The house is nearly unbearable to live in at the moment, and I've got a loss of how to make it go back to my mildly spooky house. I've used my sage twice now, and I think it just pisses Franklin off. With that being said, I have amazing friends and connections to the historical site in my town. With some research, I found that Mary and some other interesting details, Mary Frank, 48, died suddenly in my house on August 26, 1919, from neuralgia. Her spouse, Charles Frank, held the funeral in my house. I haven't been able to find a Franklin yet, however. Before the Franks occupied my house, it was a stable for horses. It could be a huge coincidence that Mary's last name is Frank, and maybe Emily didn't get a clear message. I'm not sure though. I have asked her since, and she still thinks his name is Franklin. She has come back to my house and told him to stop. He won't listen. I do plan to keep researching the area for a man named Franklin. I'm not sure there will be any documentation. Another interesting thing is that I do/did know a Gary, and he has actually been brought up before. Gary was my mother's best friend's husband. That's like a fucking
Stretch.
yeah. That's a
Why?
bit of a
Why he
stretch.
haunting you?
Yeah, like, did you like run into him one day and piss him off a little bit, and then he died, and he was like, you know what? Fuck this person that inconvenienced me.
Okay, but mood.
At the time, we lived on 20 plus acres of land, and he'd love to go hunting on our property. When he passed, it was his wishes to have his ashes spread on our land. What the fuck?
Okay, I can get that though, because he liked hunting on it.
Yeah, but high key, I wouldn't do that. I don't want him haunting our shit.
You once told me that you wanted me to spread your remains around Disney World, but that you didn't want to be cremated.
Anyway, I was told many years ago that Gary watched over me. I know the activity in my house is increasing. I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe because I'm more aware now, but I don't feel danger. I never have because I know Gary is there. Now from multiple sources. I'm going to try and attach pictures of Mary's obituary in the lovely spot someone/something put in my wall. I'm sharing this maybe for insight or just an interesting read. And they attached a picture of Mary's obituary and a dent in the wall. And I'll put those on the Twitter and Instagram and everywhere else.
Can you send that to Cursed Images?
Here's the dent in the wall.
Oh, fuck.
And here is the obituary outlined with the cause of death of Mary.
Finish your story.
That was all.
All right. I had another story, but I decided I have a more interesting one of my own. And I know I should have said this at the beginning, but I'm stupid. So here it goes at the end of the episode. I have seen a ghost on a video camera. I know you're thinking, Cap, but it's not. When William and I were first talking, we talked for about a year before we started dating. And at the time, William was visiting grandparents in New Mexico. And a lot of people have died in his grandparents' house. Like, that's not a flex. It's
Yeah.
just happened. Um,
Why would I flex that?
I don't know. And serial killers. And the, the way his like pull-out bed was set up was right behind. He was sitting on his bed with his back to a doorway that led to basically like a laundry room.
At the very end of the laundry room, there is a staircase down to the basement.
To his right is a wall, and to his left is like the rest of the room. He would have, if someone was walking by him, he would have had to seen it. So we're talking, and this is probably about a month before we started dating, because we started dating right when he came back from New Mexico. We're sitting on video chat, and I had heard his mom in the room before, but I had never seen her. Once again, it's long distance, so at that point, so it made sense that I didn't know what his mom looked like. And we're sitting there talking, and this lady, I vividly remember her. She had blue eyes, shoulder length, curly, gray hair, and she was wearing like a white blouse, off the shoulder, white blouse, and it was very flowy. She walks from William's right where the wall is, which I didn't know at that point. I can only see William in the doorway behind him. She walks to
Yeah,
his right.
literally, if this person did exist and had walked from there, they would have had to walk through a wall.
So she walks behind William, leans over his shoulder, like to where her head's still behind his, but like almost like she's looking at the computer. She looks me dead in the eyes, smiles, and then just gives me a small wave before like straightening back up and walking to the left. Which once again she would have had to walk in front of William to get out of the room. And
Yeah.
I
And
didn't think
even then, the direction she was going was going to walk into another wall.
she's probably 50, 60, and considering the fact that William's youngest of 5, I was like, "You know what? That's not, like, super unheard of for her
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of
for
possibility.
his mom to be older," you know? It wasn't something I had researched. So
Yeah.
so I didn't say anything, I waved back, and William just thought I was being stupid and it was like, "Oh, okay, haha." So later on he brushes over it. He looks at himself in the camera as I'm waving, and she's waving at me as I'm waving back at her. He looks in his own camera and doesn't see anything. I didn't know that at the time because I could see her clear as fucking day, and she leaves. And fast forward a couple weeks, we start dating, we're video chatting, we're talking. We're talking about his mom. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I saw your mom back when we were in New Mexico. Like she has the long curly gray hair." And Ollie was like, "No." And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "No, my mom has short hair." And I was like, "Oh, did she cut it?" He was like, "No." And so he sends me a photo of his mom and she's like, "This is what she's looked like." And I was like, "No, what I saw, it was like a really skinny, like you could see her collarbone, like white lady with gray curly hair, shoulder length. She had a flowy white blouse on. It was off the shoulder. She had blue eyes. Like I'm describing this woman to her." And he goes, "There was no one in the house that looked like that." So he's like, "Okay, you know what? Maybe you remember it wrong." And he sends me a photo of his grandma, his aunt, anyone that could have been in the house. He sends me a photo of them. It's not a goddamn one of them. I thought it was his mom. I waved at a fucking ghost.
And there was no one even there that would have been my grandparents' friend or my mom's friend. Well, it could have been one person that would have been my mom's friend, but we only found out that this person lived in the same town 2 weeks later.
Yeah, and she wasn't there. And even then, he sent me a photo of her, and it wasn't her.
It was nobody that could even possibly be in the house. It was just this person. We don't know who this person was. I've even looked up the like obituaries for this house and I can't find anyone that looks like that.
Something we live with knowing is that I saw a ghost on a video camera.
Yeah, and we're both cursed as fuck. And that being said, thank you for listening, everybody. If you want to tweet at us or email us some ideas or anything, you can contact us anywhere at cryptcreate. That's on Twitter, even at gmail.com. Do you have anything to plug?
My Venmo.
I swear to God, every fucking week I have to tell you, we have this sponsor thing set up. If you want to send money to this dipshit fucking garbage shithead podcast,
Please
you
do.
can
Please do.
you can do that.
Both William and I had COVID. We genuinely just got out of quarantine at the time of recording this.
Yeah. Also, I found out that you can send us voice messages on Anchor. So if you're listening on there, feel free to do that. We'll probably put you in an episode.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Send us a voice message of a scary story.
Wash your stinky, dirty fucking ass.
Wash your asses, everybody. The Rona's real.
We had it. Wear your mask.
We
We
had
don't want
it.
it again.
Fuck. Wear a mask. But that being said, thank you everybody for listening. You can find my hosts. Yeah, I guess that would be correct for this week. You can find my fiance's social media links in the description.
All right.
That being said, we'll see you next week.
Or will we?
I won't. Bye bye.